A bear almost killed me. I'm a US Navy vet who has seen many continents around the world, and I've trained for scenarios in time of war. Spent a lot of time out in the woods, even in the desert. Many of our training exercises dealt with anything from wildlife to terrorist snipers. This is important as my training will come into play later. So, I'm 2 years out of the service, back in my hometown, and I decided to get into the medical field. Not what I was ever planning to do, but hey, your decisions change based on circumstances. I became an emergency medical courier. What is that, you ask? Basically, hospitals and retirement homes run out of supplies and meds like you wouldn't imagine. Oftentimes, I'm delivering blood or surgical tools to an ER while someone is on the operating table from a gunshot wound or stabbing. There must be a lot of gangs in my town, 'cause I sure as fuck stay busy. Sometimes, I receive a delivery for organs even. You get the idea. Well, here I am at home with my baby boy, and get a call to pick up some meds and drop it off to a facility over 3 hours away. I get the drugs after crawling out of bed and stumbling to my feet, begin to drive to the backwoods of Indiana. I eventually arrive at the building dimly lit up in the middle of a forest. I have my service pistol at my hip at all times, as I have my concealed weapons permit. So far pretty uneventful. I have the nurse sign for the meds, and I hastily make an exit. I'm now outside and hearing rustling and branches breaking. Thinking to myself it could just be a deer, I continue walking to my car. I can see my car about 20 feet away. I turn around to be greeted by a monstrous 7-foot tall beast. It had to weigh at least 500 pounds. It was closing in on me. I reach back behind my waist and fire my gun 3 times. I'm certain each bullet reached its mark. Damn, no effect. Started running and nope the fuck out of there. I reached my car. Oh fuck, did I lock it? Why? Frantically tossing my keys on a lanyard, around grabbing all the wrong ones trying to get in my car. This fucking beast reaches me. I quickly fall to the ground and hide under the car and don't move. I lay still as I hear it scouring around the car, scratching and clawing, trying to reach for me under the car, terrified. I scream at it loudly. Stupid, I know. No effect. I fire 2 more shots in the bear's direction. Not a good shot from this angle, and no room under my car. One bullet grazes the monster, and the other strikes its leg. The bear scurries off back into the woods. I barely have a signal on my phone, but I'm still able to call police. A squad car shows up in about 20 minutes. My adrenaline still rushing and blood pumping fast. I didn't even realize it while under the car. I've been mauled. Blood running down my legs as the officer shines his mag light to examine me. Medical arrives and patches me up as I make my full report to the officer. Apparently, it was illegal to fire my weapon in city limits, but he told me since my life was in danger, he would only issue me a warning. I thanked him and asked if I could go. 2 things I learned that night. You never fuck with Mother Nature. And the other, I'm never going back to Kokomo. Ever again. Dark House in the Woods. I've had a few scary encounters in my life, but this one still creeps me out. In the early 80s, when I was 8 years old, my family was visiting my uncle, who lived in Backwoods, Missouri. He lived on a lot of land, and the only other people who really even lived on the street were relatives, so no one else ever just happened to be out there. This meant no one ever locked their doors, because random family members were always coming by for this or that. One night, while we were there, my parents and aunt and uncle decided to go to a nearby town to go bowling. My brothers, who were 11 and 12 years old, my female cousins 6 and 14, and I'm female, stayed home. It was still daylight when the adults left, but it started raining pretty hard and got dark quickly. We used to play this game that was essentially hide and seek in the dark house, but we cleverly called it Vampire. There was a thin, little mattress on the living room floor that some of the kids would sleep on at night, so the person who was it would lie on the mattress and fold it over themselves like a coffin and count down to midnight. When they got to midnight, they went looking for you, and you tried to make it back to the coffin before you got caught. Because the house was in the country, it was pitch black at nighttime. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. What this meant for the game was that 1, you couldn't tell where the vampire was looking, so you had to make a break for it, and 2, if you were extremely lazy, you could hide in the living room with a coffin and get to the base quickly. Ben, my 11-year-old brother, was it, and doing the normal countdown. I was hiding maybe 6 feet from him. As he's counting, there's a flash of lightning. I don't know if I was really looking at the living room window, or if the lightning made me look, but with the backlight of the lighting, I see a man with his face against the window. He had his hands on each side of his face, as if he's trying to peer in and look exactly like the stereotypical creepster, heavy set, straggly beard, etc. I could feel every hair on my body standing on end. Immediately, I began trying to convince myself that I didn't see what I saw, but then Ben sternly whispered, "If someone is hiding in there, stay still." I sort of croaked out an "I'm here," right as there was another flash of lightning. Creepster was still there, but he was no longer trying to look in the window. Instead, he was now looking towards the front door. Ben and I immediately knew what was coming next. From where he was standing, Creepster was probably only 5 feet from the front door. Ben was the same distance, but there was a couch between him and the door. Ben leapt over the couch and locked the door right as Creepster started trying the handle. At this point, I guess Ben decided that it was best to let Creepster know that people were home and that we knew he was there, because he flipped on the porch light and then started turning on the lights in the house. This is going to sound weird, but I was too terrified to panic. Having said that, I was relying completely on Ben to know and tell me what to do. He told me to go lock the other doors and was yelling for everyone else to come out and lock all of the windows. Honestly, the next few minutes were hazy in my mind. I remember everything up until this point extremely clearly. Then I remember the very end very clearly, but I'm less clear about the middle part. I know that I locked the side door and then the sliding glass door on the back of the house. When we talked about it over the years, some people remember us seeing him out the back door as well. I don't think I remember that. What I clearly recall is locking the sliding glass door and standing there frozen and hearing Ben, in a very calm but firm voice, say, "Close the curtain, listen to me, okay, close the curtains." So I did. Ben can't remember that part, and I just remember my fear in Ben's voice, so I'm not sure if I saw Creepster in the backyard or not. We tried to call the police, but my aunt and uncle had a stupid party line and it wouldn't work, whether from the storm or from a neighbor leaving it off the hook or whatever. We also tried to summon help on my uncle's CB radio, but couldn't reach anyone. My uncle was a hunter, and he had a gun rack full of rifles in his room, but my older cousin was on an out-of-town hunting trip and took them with him. All we could find was a BB gun that looked like a real rifle. I vividly remember Ben putting me on phone duty and Scott, my older brother, on CB, when he stood watch at the little square window on the front door with a BB gun. Maybe 30 minutes later, Ben said he's back. He's coming up the driveway. The rest of us froze in fear, but Ben opened the front door and stepped out on the porch, pointed the gun and said, "Get out of here right now." Then we heard our cousin Kyle, who had lived down the road a bit, say, "You know that's a BB gun, right?" Even though Kyle was only 15 years old, I remember that we felt like we'd been saved when he showed up. Kyle seemed really skeptical of our story, like we were all playing a trick on him, even though we had no idea that he was coming, but he stayed with us until our parents came home. Honestly, I don't remember if he even told our parents what happened when they got home. There was definitely no police involvement, though. We just went on our trip, but we never played vampire again, without some mention of that night. Late night trip to the backwoods goes sideways. Hello, let's not meet. I just want to preface this by saying I'm a lurker turned poster, so this is my first post but hopefully not last appearance here. I'm confident this story will fit right in here. So, near where I live, by far out in the sticks, there's a glorified gravel path in the woods called Rube Hill. It runs maybe 3 miles long, and only a half mile of it is paved. On the south end is the pavement, with a few old but otherwise normal houses dotting it, deceptively average at that point. Then the houses end, the pavement ends, and the gravel road shoots up a steep hill. It's not taken care of at all. The gravel is piled up in potholes and berms, so unless you're driving a nice off-road vehicle, you want to take it easy. So since you need to drive slowly, you get a nice clear view of the handmade signs nailed to the trees, with messages like "No trespassing" and "We are watching you" scrawled in Sharpie on them. At the top of the hill, the road winds lazily for a little under a mile, before driving back down the other side of the hill. This gravel is in equally crappy condition on this side. After you reach the bottom of the hill, the road cuts straight-ish for about a mile through cornfields before intersection with another road. The reason I am so familiar with the layout is that I've often taken friends on late-night drives to this road to scare the crap out of them. Never made an elaborate prank, I'd just drive slowly and play creepy music and get them amped up and paranoid. I always make sure to talk about the meth heads in their labs out there too, and how the sheriffs try to avoid going there because it's dangerous. I figured it was bullshit, just stories. But I think now, there's an element of truth to some of the rumors. I was with my friend Aaron one night, and we decided to go on a late night drive to Rube Hill to scare ourselves out. So, we took off, drove down the various country highways and back roads and turned onto it. I made sure to play extra creepy musics. Since me and Aaron had made the trip before, it honestly lost its creepy luster on me by then, but I still enjoyed the long drives and scaring my friends. Of course, it mostly went uneventful, and we were almost across the hill, about to descend the other side when Aaron freaked out. I checked the mirrors to see what he was shitting a fist over, and saw truck headlights down the road. They seemed to be back where the road first topped the hill. The truck made it under the only street light on top of the hill, a really dim orange light, and I could see it was kicking up a ton of dirt. It was speeding towards us. I paused the music, and sure enough, with the windows down, I could hear the gravel crunching and flying like a vehicle was speeding. Keep in mind that I've driven this road dozens of times, both during the daytime and at nights, and I never encountered another vehicle. So having a truck speeding to seemingly catch up to us at midnight on a road lousy with rumored meth heads was pretty jarring. Usually I don't relinquish my brakes driving down that hill, but this time I didn't even touch them. So the next day, I'm hanging out with another friend, Chris. Chris and I are just lounging around playing video games, talking about quantum physics and Chipotle. I of course told them about all Aaron and I getting chased the previous night, and I kinda get hammed up because it came across a little more harrowing than it really was. But now Chris wanted to go to the road, so we waited until late at night, about 2 in the morning probably, and went to Rube Hill. This time I wasn't playing any music. I wanted to be alert. It was all going quite normally, just like usual. When I slammed on my brakes, I threw the car in park and just said, you see that too, right? I looked at Chris, and he was just as confused as me, and he just nodded. My headlights were clearly illuminating a thick metal cable stretching across the road. On the right, it was wrapped around a tree at what I guess was roughly head height for a standing adult, and it was pulled taut across the road and anchored to a fence post at roughly chest height. I had no idea what to make of it or how to react when I heard gravel being thrown by tires. I checked my mirrors, and sure enough, truck headlights were tearing ass down the road from behind us. I started freaking out. My breathing and heart rate were out of control, and he began sweating. Chris just swore under his breath quietly. I threw it into drive, pulled as far to the right as I could, and my low-sitting car slid under the cable with a loud metal-on-metal scraping noise. I cringed as I heard the scrape, but I wasn't about to sit there and get deliveranced. So again, I flew down the hill, and this is the creepy cherry on the Sunday for me personally, because Chris did not see it as we left the tree line and entered the cornfields. I glanced to my right, past Chris, and briefly caught a glimpse of somebody staring about 3 or 4 feet back in the corn. I just felt my stomach scrunch up and I floored the accelerator. I glanced in my rearview mirror and could see a man standing in the road behind us, illuminated by the moon and my taillight. He had a long object slung over his shoulder. I couldn't tell if it was a cane or maybe a rifle, but I didn't want to stay to find out. Before I could even tell Chris about it, we were around a bend and out of sight. I haven't been back to that road since then. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Definitely one of my creepiest personal experiences. And to the probably methed up hill people who value their privacy, let's not meet. Update. As of October 10th, 2015, finally went back recently, and the creepy sign that says, "We're watching you," with a creepy frowny face is gone. Damn, still some signs that say, "No dumping," but the threatening atmosphere is past. Guess I caught the tail end of the meth rain. The time I think I took a ride from a killer. This happened around 10 years ago, in 2008 or 2009. I was visiting my grandma in a rural section of Lake of the Ozarks, near a small town with a hilarious name where I went to high school. I was very familiar with the area, and when visiting my grandmother, I would often walk into town, taking backwood trails until I reached the main road going into the town. Very rarely someone would stop and offer a ride, and normally I would accept. It's a small town in a rural area where everyone mostly knows everyone else, so I wouldn't even look up until I was getting into the vehicle. I stopped accepting rides after this. I had just come out of the woods and was walking along the side of the road. I was still maybe a mile or two out of town and enjoying my walk. An older blue Ford Taurus pulls up next to me. The driver rolls down the passenger window. "Need a ride?" I hear, and start to walk over. I get in and I get a good look at my driver. The man looked like a greasier version of Charles Manson. Flat, stringy brown hair that looked like it hadn't been washed in over a week came down to his jawline. He sat salt and pepper 5 o'clock shadow and piercing, wild blue eyes. Something about him rang every alarm bell in my body, and I wanted to get back out of the car, but we were already in motion. Instead, I began to look around the vehicle. The front is relatively normal and even clean. The back seat is covered with a blanket. On top of the blanket is something that takes up nearly the entire back seat, wrapped in a tarp. Whatever it is stands to about 1.5 feet off the back seats. On top of all this is a big, black, shaggy dog that is staring right through me. "What are you doing here?" The question snapped me back to the front seat. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. He's staring at me instead of the road. "What are you doing here?" "Oh," I say, laughing a little out of nervousness. "I'm visiting my grandmother. I live in College Town about 90 miles from here, and I'm on my way to see some old friends." He frowns. "No," he states flatly. "Why are you here?" I frown a little, everything in me flashing in red. "Get out now, get out now, get out now, get out now, get out now." I just told you," I mumble. My tension is ringing visibly. The dog gives a low growl from the back seat. We are passing the sign for the county line. There is a gas station coming up that marks the beginning of the town. He is still staring at me. "Why the fuck are you here? Why the fuck are you here? Why the fuck are you here?" He screams out of nowhere, slamming his hands on the steering wheel. I'm huddled against the door, shaking. He pulls into the gas station. "Give me your glasses." Statement, not question, no emotion. Without question, I hand them over. "Wait here." He goes into the store. I'm frozen in place, shaking, and trying to will my arms or legs to work, trying to breathe again. I know whatever the hell is going on, I need out, and fast. The dog gave another low growl, and that snapped me into action. I get up, almost rolling out of the car. Shakily, I walk into the store and, in an equally shaky voice, say to the guy, "This is close enough to where I'm going. I would like my glasses now, please." My eyesight is very poor, and I could feel the intensity of the glare he gave me. I think the cashier could too, because she took a couple steps back, closer to the store phone, silently hands the glasses to me, continues to stare daggers at me as I put them on, and walks out of the store without saying a word to either of us. The cashier stares at me, clearly freaked out. "What the fuck was that?" she asked me. The adrenaline of the situation has started to wear off, and the real gravity started to sink in on me. Tears are beginning to silently course down my face. "Can I use your phone, please?" I asked her. She nods, and wordlessly hands it to me with a box of tissues. She tells me I can go into the manager's office to make a phone call and take as much time as I need. I thank her, go back, and let my friends know what just happened. I also tell them I'll be cutting through the woods to get to them, because I don't want to ever see this guy again, and then I'll be coming out behind the house. I took a few minutes to breathe and relax after I hung up. When I went back out, the cashier asked if I was okay, and if there was anything she could do for me. I thanked her again and told her no. I asked if she knew the guy. She had never seen him before, and didn't think he was from the area. That shook me even more. I gave her my friend's phone number, and asked her to call them if he comes back. I left, and cut through the woods to my friend's house. We had a great afternoon, and when I was ready to leave, they gave me a ride home. At the time, it didn't bother me as much, but the longer I've had to think about it, the more curious I am about the back seat. The dog wasn't moving from on top of it, unless the guy told him to. I try not to think about what was under the tarp too much. It looked just like how someone lying in the fetal position looks like from behind. Side note, I'm a 6'1" male that was about 210 pounds at the time, and I wore my hair down to my waist with a full beard. I myself was a little intimidating, and would occasionally accidentally scare people just from my appearance. The aura this man gave off had me nearly pissing my pants, and there was no question, he could have overpowered me. The creepy guy that gave me a ride into town. Let's not ever meet again.